Hello, everybody. My name is Kenton DeYoung, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Dylan Fairman.
Yo!
And this is Unsolved Canadian Mysteries. Oh, this is a Patreon-exclusive episode of Unsolved Canadian
You
Mysteries.
fucked that up, Kenton.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I knew today was going to be off, but I didn't know it was going to be this off.
Even getting here, I struggled with two different doors. So that's
Doors? Oh, no.
That's the kind of day we're having.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So first of all, me and my girlfriend, Christina, we were just watching a TV show. And then all of a sudden I look over to the left and there's like little rattling on the door. Because of course Kenton's not going to knock loud like a normal person. He's got a little rat-tat-tat. And I look on the side and Kenton's big fucking face is right there in the window like this. It scared me. Anyway. Yes, Kenton had problems with doors today.
Yeah, that one and the one getting down here. It's just one of those days.
The first one wasn't your fault.
The second one was my fault.
Yes.
Yeah. So Dylan, how are you doing?
I'm good, Kenton. How are you?
I've been better, but I'll make it through the
Work.
day.
Hey.
Yeah.
What can you do? I have found a sale on Budweiser.
That's why you're doing good over there.
That's why I'm doing good.
I had like a barbecue with my parents, and my dad was like, "You put out an episode about the legless wonder of Nova Scotia." I'm like, "I didn't know you even listen to my podcast, Dad."
That's funny.
He goes back in the house and he comes out with the 2021 copy of the Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
And it's full of unsolved Canadian mysteries.
Yeah.
And of course, we did every single one in the book.
That's so funny.
And the last one is the one about Jerome. I'm
That's
like,
funny.
Great. Yeah, okay.
Great.
He's like, I knew that story somewhere. I'm like, I did not get that from Reader's Digest. Usually I have like a document of notes.
Yeah.
Right? This time it's 8 lines and a paragraph.
Wow, interesting.
Because I was doing research on this and thought, this is one that I just want to talk to you about.
Cool.
Because it's one that's like, I'm going to go off the rails on this one. So there's no reason to even put a structure on it.
Also, I've seen many comments where people think you have some kind of like, what's that called?
Teleprompter?
Because when Kenton talks, he sometimes looks like this because he won't make eye contact with you, even though you're not even there. He always just looks down because he's trying to recall information. So he looks down. There's nothing written there. It's literally my dog.
This story starts off November 1930 at Lake Anunnaki.
Anunnaki.
In Nunavut. It wasn't Nunavut then. It was Northwest Territories then. It hadn't divided yet. There's a gentleman named Joe LaBelle. He's a hunter, traps person. He's up north, and he is approaching this Inuit village. When I read the first few account of stories of this, I thought he was walking or maybe with dog sled or something.
Yeah.
But when I actually found the original article, it said that he was on a canoe coming across the lake, and that makes sense. So he docks his canoe on the edge of Lake Anunnaki, and he walks into the village. And the village is quite small. It's about 6 tents and a population of about 25 people.
Crazy.
As he walks in, it's like 5 people a tent, right? So it's like kind of crowded, but I guess that's the way it was. When he walks into the town, the village, it's dead quiet. There should be meat sizzling on a grill, children laughing, mothers yelling at the children, dogs barking, something going on, right? And he walks into the town, it's quiet. He walks past the tents, and the tents are empty. He sees there's, food out, like it's being prepared, and someone got busy and walked away from it for a second. One of the tents had some tears in it, but just looked like it's from weather. And he found there was some dogs, sled dogs or hunting dogs. They were tied up, and that some of them had died from starvation.
Oh.
He went and he had some fish in his boat, and he cut them. The ones that were left, cut them loose and fed them the fish. And then he walked around the village some more, and he gets to the cemetery. Some of the articles I've read said that all of the graves had been dug up and the headstones have been put off to the side. But the actual original testimony is that he found a stone cairn, which is like a pile of rocks to symbolize a grave of some kind.
Right.
But the cairn had been opened. I didn't know there's things inside of cairns. I thought it was just like a pile of rocks.
Right.
So LaBelle finds this abandoned village. There's seal skin just kind of laying around to be prepared and cleaned and that kind of thing. But no people. Food would be on the fires, on the grills, but the fires have been long put out. But no sign of a struggle, no sign of a fight. Just suddenly, everyone just kind of disappeared. Finds his way over to the nearest village, and asks about, does anyone knows what happened, and no one knew anything, so he contacts the RCMP. The RCMP then come back up with him to this village, and they walk around and they confirm his testimony that this village has been abandoned and there's no reason why. There's no markings of anything. One of the theories the RCMP put out is that there was a blizzard and that the community got lost in the storm and couldn't get their way back to the village. But they said that's not likely because, if there's just men, sure that happens, or that happens all the time with, the lost, I think the lost patrol up north. But for this would be men, women, and children to all go missing. It doesn't quite make sense. Mm-hmm. And they admit that doesn't quite make sense. So they said this is they don't know the answer to this. That story would then get published in a newspaper out of Manitoba. I think it was Manitoba Press, or Manitoba Herald, something like that. And it would circle back to the RCMP a little while later. People will be wanted to know what happened, how's the investigation going, what happened to this community. It's kind of a really strange story. And the RCMP, when they get these requests from the public, make a statement that not only did they not send anyone out there to look at this village, this was never reported to them that this village was abandoned. And they said this, like Anunnaki, is so remote from any other community that there's no chance of a community this size living there. They said it's like 1,000 kilometers away from Iqaluit, the biggest community, right?
Okay.
It's so remote. And Nunavut is very barren, from what I'm told. Tundra, Precambrian shield stone, frost, moss, it's of course, ice and snow. It's not like an area you don't wander away in, right? Because there's nothing. It's just a big, huge area of nothing. So to have a community of this size by the lake, and they said this is a freshwater lake. It's not access to the ocean, so you don't have a constant supply of fish. They said there's no community of that size in that area, and that they got no report of this community vanishing, and that they did not go out there and investigate. People began to question the account, and as time has passed, they said there was a Joe LaBelle, but according to the article, he was a seasoned trapper. He had visited the community a few times in the past, when in reality, he was a junior trapper who was in Manitoba. He never got up that far north, and he had never been there. So then he came back to the reporter who covered this story, and the reporter was well known, well respected, but also wrote for I think it was called Weird Tales or Weird Stories magazine, stories where you kind of write pseudo horror, pseudo fiction stories. So the idea here was that it was just a made up story. And as time has passed, this story has kind of evolved. Some say that there was plenty of testimony at the time from RCMP, or people who claimed to be RCMP, or people who wrote in the paper who said they talked to RCMP about this. So that the article said that they interviewed people in nearby villages about this, that one day a man was brought into the paw of this community in Manitoba with frozen legs, kind of like Jerome, and they asked him about this. They said even that there was a community 150 kilometers away from Lake Anunnaki where a orphan boy wandered in from the wilderness, and the community took him in to help him, and that the police interviewed them and the boy, and that they wouldn't talk about it. So there's lots of people being interviewed about this, but then for the RCMP to say, no, this didn't happen, makes people think that it was some kind of cover-up.
Interesting.
One theory I've heard is that there was this is like a residential school program that they just kind of came and took everyone out of the community and took them to some kind of schooling.
Oh.
Of course, one other theory that's come out, because the article came out in 1930, a revised version of it came out in 1976 that said that there was some other trappers in the area the night before saw some kind of spherical thing in the sky. And
oh, is that so, Kenton?
Yeah.
A spherical
something in the sky.
You gotta do it.
Flying towards the lake. Mm-hmm. And that it was, they claim, one of the largest mass abductions on record.
Obviously.
Of course, right?
I don't know why we're even talking about this any further, Kenton.
There are a couple other interesting theories.
All right, I'll hear them, but I think I know. I think I know what the answer is.
One theory I've heard is that this was a Wendigo that took out the village.
I was just thinking about the Wendigo, but that area.
Well, I was thinking about that too. What is the territorial range of the Wendigo?
Yeah, what?
And then the Wendigo is a couple different. I was thinking about this on the drive here. Like, you got the idea the Wendigo is some kind of physical being, right, that attacks villages. You have the same one, the Wendigo, with some kind of spiritual weapon that people will use against somebody. And then the one where it possesses people. And then the one where it's a mental condition, Wendigo psychosis. In all these instances, Wendigo is like an extreme version of cannibalism brought on by starvation.
Right.
And we do know that cannibalism exists in the north because of the story in Dawson City, where there's cannibals kind of living under the mountain, and the locals caused a landslide to wipe out the cannibals.
Okay.
The idea of cannibals living together seems kind of counterintuitive.
Hey, you know,
Yeah, whatever.
you eat some, you're friends with others.
I guess so.
You know?
Yeah. And so, like, we knew there is stories of cannibals in the north, and cannibals, Wendigos in southern Canada. We have the Wendigo hunter in Manitoba. We have the case of the guy who killed his family in Alberta. So Wendigos are a possibility. But this is very far north, right? And the Wendigo is a Cree or a Algonquin story. So, like, it's possible, that the same entity is known by different names across different cultures.
Right.
But I don't know about this one, because let's say the Wendigo is attacking the village. The Wendigo is usually quite messy, tears people apart, right? So they have no bodies at all. And then why would the cairn be torn open? That kind of thing. So some people thought maybe zombies, of course.
That's when you first started the story, I was thinking about zombies.
Right? But then it's like, if all the graves are opened, why would the zombies be so nice to put the headstones in the pile and then it would attack the village? And then again, where are the bodies? Plus the zombie bodies.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay.
Vampires.
Yeah.
It'd be a good place. Start there often.
Yeah. Arctic vampires. I like the idea. So there's a couple of different theories, but I was reading all of them, and I'm like, they all have their pros and cons, right? There's the one that it was a residential school program. Sure. But there's no schools around there. Right, that's a long ways to get people.
Yeah, just to get people for the school.
For 25 people or maybe 5 kids, like it's
Right.
Aliens. Oh, that's a toss up. Anything could be aliens, right? Sure. All right, problem solved. But I don't know about that one. Wendigo. Well, if the Wendigo goes out of its range, maybe. Right. So then I thought, why don't I go read the actual article published in 1930 and see what it says.
Okay. Cool.
And I was reading another guy's talk about it. He's doing the research, and he was kind of showing how over the years the story has evolved, and how went from 25 people to 30 people to over 1,000 people vanishing from this. And it talks about different witnesses that came out 40 years after the fact, or talks about how the RCMP kind of went back on their word on this. They couldn't find records, and then they said they couldn't find the original 1930 article. But then there was an amendment to their article and said, oh, it does exist. It's brought towards them, but they haven't changed their conclusion that it was just a made-up story. So I thought, I want to see this original article. I want to see what it reads, right? And it's a very interesting account about Joe LaBelle docking his boat and coming into the lake, or into the town. I've read a lot of criticisms about the story, and one of the ones they talk about is the fact that he most likely, according to him, rowed across the lake and docked the boat and then went into town. Well, this was November in the north. There's no rowing across the lake in November.
Right.
It's frozen solid.
Because it's fresh water. Yeah.
It's frozen solid. Like when I was in Yukon in September, they said the river starts to freeze. So by November, it's already frozen.
Right.
And the article says that there are some canoes along the shore that are being kind of hit by the waves of the water. There shouldn't be any water. And people say, they could have used canoes on the freshwater lake, but at that time of year, that far inland, they're probably going to portage canoes more inland. They don't want the ice just damaging them, right? It also said there was seal skin found in the village, but they're nowhere close to where the seals are. It more likely would be caribou skin or that kind of thing. So that evidence doesn't match up. But then so those are some big kind of flags that this might be a fake story. But then I was reading the article, and I came across, it's very first person what Joe LaBelle was seeing and experiencing. And it said that Joe LaBelle was very creeped out about this place. It had a weird feel to it.
Yeah.
And that all I could think about, I'll make sure I get this name right, because of course it's a complicated name. All I could think about while he was there was the Torn. All LaBelle could think about while he was walking through this village was the story of the Torngashuk.
Torngashuk.
Yeah. When I came across that, I thought, what? Because it was an old article. It was kind of fuzzy. I'm like, what is that? Torngashuk? I'm like, well, whatever. Maybe it's just a term or a word. I'll just keep going. But it came up a few times in the article. He was concerned about the Torngashuk. And when the RCMP or the Northwest Mounted Police were investigating and they went to the nearby communities, they wouldn't talk to them because they said it was the Torngashuk that did it. And that when they talked to the boy who was the orphan boy who went to the other community, they wouldn't talk to him then because of the Torngashuk. And when they met the guy who had frozen his legs, they tried to get him drunk so he would talk about it, but he wouldn't want to drink because he didn't want to talk about the Torngashuk. So I said, what is the Torngashuk, right? What is this entity?
Everyone's talking about this thing like it's common knowledge.
Right? And people will say, oh, was the Wendigo that did this. But the article says the guy was worried about the Torngashuk. So I looked up what the Torngashuk was. Because there is... describe this.
Here, give me a second.
Yep. It's easy to, when you hear one First Nations Aboriginal story, to kind of say they're all the same thing, right? But when you look at someplace like Europe, you have the Celtics who have their own religion. You have the Norse. You have the Christians. You have Muslims in Spain. You have the Jews. A lot of different religions in a very close area.
Right.
So I find with North America, we have a very bad tendency to just say, oh, everyone had the same religion.
Right.
Some First Nation religion, right?
Right.
And the Wendigo was in Manitoba, the Wendigo was in Nova Scotia. No, there are separate religions, separate pantheons, if you will, of different gods, a different...
Pantheon, good pull.
Demons, that kind of thing.
Good pull.
The Torngashuk is an Inuit entity.
Cool.
Specific to up there. And I did a little bit of research into Inuit mythology going to this, and oh my god, the names are so hard to say.
Yeah.
Like Torngashuk is already a tongue twister, but some of them have huge names, and of course they span everything from giants to demons to almost like genies to everything. The Torngashuk, it's like comparable to Loki, a trickster god.
Okay.
But the Torngashuk kind of it is
like misfortune.
Yeah. It's described in a couple different ways. Not all of them make sense to me. One of them described it as being a giant finger.
Squish!
Right? Other ones described it as being a bear with human arms.
Kent, finally, a podcast I can get behind. A bear.
Here,
You're giving me a solution before I give my own of a bear?
I have a picture.
Oh my god, he's got a fucking fishing rod. Oh my god.
It's like, I had this podcast. I was like, it's going to be aliens. That's the answer. Done. But then when I came across this word, Torngashuk, I looked up, I'm like, no.
Bear with a fucking fishing rod.
No way.
Hey.
So I can't explain the water, right? And the case says that this happened 8 weeks prior, when it disappeared 8 weeks prior, and then he shows up. So it couldn't have been a blizzard because it's not blizzarding in September, but everything would have been frozen by November. If this event had occurred in September, I think all the dogs would have starved, unless the dogs ate each other. But even then, that's 8 weeks without food. Right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. I question some parts of the story, but the fact they mentioned the Torngashuk means that the editor who wrote this out of the paw had knowledge of Inuit deities, which is like, that's impressive. Because people now don't even talk about that. People assume it's a Wendigo or something like that.
Right.
I think, well, my theory I'm leaning towards, it's either the story's made up and the guy did his research and it's just been a creepy story that's been passed around for generations.
Right.
Or maybe it is some kind of Inuit entity that took out a village and everyone knows about it. It just don't talk about it. Kind of like if we don't say its name, it doesn't appear. Once I read the article and I came across that and I was like, oh, that's one of their entities that is very common in their religion. I could see it. I don't know though. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
My thoughts on this whole thing are, when you hear the tellings from a person, you have to, it's always like when you hear a story from a person or someone gives eyewitness or anything like that, for that story to be 100% true, that person has to be 100% truthful and not be full of shit.
Yeah.
So this guy, Mr. John LaBelle, could very well have maybe he went to a village and they told him this story that they tell, and he just made it his own story and told it. Or maybe he was bored, drunk, full of shit, anything like that, not to sully the name of John LaBelle. But this is all this one is 100% riding on the word of one man who can't even, because he said November. That's already, if there's one smoking barrel, then where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
I think the best possible outcome is he heard the story from maybe an Inuit village and he made it his own, because who's gonna come visit this little village and hear their story, you know? And he's like, this will be good. I can entertain people at the bar. I'll get some more friends, shit like that.
And you tell a story, and then suddenly someone tells someone, and the media picks it up,
right,
and takes their own spin at it. And happens to be that this media guy happened to write for Weird Tales,
right,
and he had a bit of a creepy way he wrote things, and that took off.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a perfect. It's like those movies where like someone does one little lie and then it gets outrageous, and then you got to keep perpetuating the lie in order to keep the thing going.
It could be too, like maybe he said November, or the article said November, but it could be the reporter had it wrong, and that was September, because then everything matches up,
right,
with the water and the placement of them and everything, like the canoes being where they were and that kind of thing.
Right.
It could just been that month changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Only one mistake right there, and now it's a whole different story.
You're right. Everyone's focusing on if it's in November, these things don't match. Oh, maybe it's the month that's wrong, not the stuff that's wrong.
Right. Then it's bears.
This story is famous because of its apparent alien connection. Right. I'm not doing it. No.
You're not going there?
I'm not going there.
The ufologist?
I got the diploma, but no, this one's not it.
Damn, Kenton.
Yeah, I'm calling it. It's not aliens. So then what can it be? I'm saying it's not Wendigo. Location doesn't match Wendigo. Wendigo doesn't act this way. He kills people. It doesn't just make them disappear. Could it be government conspiracy? You're thinking 1930s. The government isn't the same it is now.
Yeah.
This is before World War II. The government was very hands-off. This was going into the Great Depression. The government didn't want to even help Canadians in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Residential school program, I could see it, but why would you take away the adults, right?
Right. And so why would you go out of your way?
Yeah. Yeah. So the possibility is it's either the story is not true, that maybe it was partly true, an urban legend that was passed on.
Right.
Because you have that even with the Ogopogo.
Right.
Stories that have been changed over time.
Right.
There's another story I was thinking of that was indigenous Aboriginal story, but got kind of changed. But that happens all the time. In this case, though, let's say it didn't take place in November. Let's say it took place in September,
right,
or whatever. Maybe Joe LaBelle heard this story from somebody.
Right.
To have the mention of this Inuit deity in it means someone had to have done their research. And that wasn't that easy to do back then. Like, even the article I read from a few years ago when the guy said this is just a completely bunk story, he couldn't find the 1930 article. I found it. I found it on newspaper.com. It wasn't that hard to find. Now, information is so easy to get. Back then, it wasn't. You have a lot of barriers. You have location, distance. Like, if he wrote this in the paw and then sent it down to Winnipeg to get published, that's like a world away from the lake, right? Like, it's a completely opposite side. Like, it's like someone in Rome writing about an event in London and getting the time and place a little bit off. People will just accept it. That's the way it is. So I think that this is an urban legend, like you said,
right,
that just kind of got passed along.
Right.
Because to have the details of this deity that they shouldn't know about, right? And even, I'm surprised Joe LaBelle knew about it, because that means he had knowledge of Inuit gods and trickster gods, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one part. Because who got that information?
Yeah.
Because if it was the first reporter, then does it make sense that that first reporter messed up the month? Probably not. If he's willing to do that much research to know that, why would he mess up the month?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
So I think it's an urban legend, kind of like that urban legend of that town in the U.S. I can't remember what it's called, but they like
California.
No, the other coast. I think it was in Maine or somewhere where they were put on an island, and then there was a village, and the guy went back to England to get some stuff, and he came back like a year later, and the village had been abandoned, and everyone went missing. But that one kind of has some theories that they went to other communities or this. But in this case, everyone just to pop away and vanish overnight, seemingly. It's different. And it's not like it's, the ocean where you have fish, other people, other boats. It's the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Where are you gonna go? Middle of nowhere still. So I think it's an urban legend, maybe like a bedtime story kind of thing that then was twisted by Western media. And then over the years has been thrown in the alien stories, or the town was much bigger than it actually was, and all this stuff. And the RSMP were involved, but then they weren't involved. It was a government cover-up, that kind of thing. Cool. So I think it's just an urban legend that's been passed along. And it's just us doing it again.
Yet again.
Yet again. But if it is real, I think it was the bear guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. If it was September, bear guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. When I saw them, I'm like, oh, that's the answer. there's no debating this anymore.
No debating it.
Yeah. And I told my partner Jessica, I was like, when Dylan hears this one, he's gonna love it. He's gonna be so happy.
Bear.
Because he's got everything. It's got abandoned village. It's got kind of a creepy feeling. Zombies, Wendigo, aliens, and bears.
Bear with a fishing rod.
Yeah, it's great.
Dope. Well, thank you, Kenton. That was awesome. That was a good one.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it.
Well, Dylan, thank you so much. As always, my name is Kenton DeYoung, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Dylan Fairman. And this is Unsolved Canadian Mysteries.